This is the Four-Man Rush. Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to another episode of the Four-Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Timmy V.O., here with Kevin, Larry, and featuring Monty. What up, Monty?
What's going on, man?
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back, brother. I'm glad to be back.
Man, we're glad you're back, man.
Hey, how Cam said it? I got my dog back.
Yeah, my dog.
I'm happy to have my dog back, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad to be back, brother. I'm glad to be back amongst you great fellas in football knowledge, man. So let's get to it, brother.
Right on.
Hey, I just want to know, can I get my $100 from the milk carton since we don't found Monty? You know what I'm saying? I just want my money.
Hey, man, I just need a portion of that cut, brother. That's all I want. I want a portion of the cut. That's all.
Right on, man. Yeah, glad you're back, Monty. For you listeners, Monty is part of the original Four-Man Rush crew. If you were listening on episode 1, I believe episode 2, also, you'll notice that Monty was on there, and yeah, that's the fourth man right there. So unfortunately, Will's not with us tonight. He has some work to do, because we grind like that, folks, and we are the Four-Man Rush for a reason. So tonight, our topics are going to be talking about the unfortunate death of one CatMan. He's a Winston-Salem native, which is where I reside, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, I almost had the opportunity to work with this dude, man. So just tells you a lot about his background, but we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, we're gonna speak on Mr. CatMan. We're also gonna talk about Shaq Thompson and what he's speaking about. Wanting to play his entire career here with the Carolina Panthers, which would be a good thing if he shows up. To be seen. And of course, we'll talk about the camp battles. Speaking of who's going to be in what lineup and what direction. We'll see what's going on. I mean, a lot of things can happen. Camp is a funny thing. Some people show up, some people fizzle out. So we'll talk about that as well. So. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Monty, since you're back on the stage, we're going to go with you first, man, and then we'll talk to Kevin, my man Larry, and we'll mix it up as we go. Cool?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Larry, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm used to saying Larry because Monty ain't been it. But yeah, Monty, I mean, we all, I think all of us have met CatMan, if I'm not mistaken. Did you have a chance to meet CatMan?
No, and that's what was going to be the first thing I said. I actually didn't have the opportunity to meet him, before passing. I've just only read a lot of great things about him, and just being at the games, I may have seen him or seen people take pictures with him. I've personally never got time to meet him, but I've read nothing but great things about him, and I've also seen that he's was probably the biggest Panther fan out there, so it was a tough day for Panther Nation as a whole. I think that was a big loss from Panther fans, and just the Carolinas united. I think that was a real big loss that we took in. And I hate to see it, but I also love that the reception or perception that he got after passing. How many people actually did step up and say how much they love CatMan, and I think that's great for the sport. That's great for the Carolinas, and it was a sad moment, but I think it was a beautiful moment as well.
Yeah, it really showed that unity between the Panther fans. 2 states, 1 team. Kevin, what's your take on this horrible news, man?
Yeah, when I heard about the passing of CatMan, it definitely caught me off guard. We're talking about someone that prior to this past 2018 season had been to every single Carolina Panther home game, even in 1995 when he was playing at Clemson. This man was driving all the way from, I believe, Winston-Salem.
Yes, sir.
Which is up near your way, Tim, if I'm not mistaken. And, you're pretty much talking about the ultimate idealistic of what a super fan is for each franchise. The Jets got Fireman Joe, and each franchise had their own quote-unquote super fan, and ours was CatMan. So he was someone that I actually got to meet twice. Within the last few years, just running into him outside with other Panther fans that were dressed up for the games. And, he was just someone that just came across as had an undying passion for the team. I remember reading his story that prior to the Panthers coming here, he was a Green Bay Packers fan, but he didn't get, access to be able to enjoy and watch the team as much as he liked to. So when the franchise was awarded to the Carolinas, he decided to immediately switch and true to form. We're talking about from 1995 to 2017. This man made sure he was at every game, and he was able to be at both Super Bowls. Honestly, it's a huge loss for not only Carolina Panthers family, but we're talking about someone's father, uncle, brother. So his family, we definitely would like to send our condolences to them. 62 years old. I think it was his life was cut short, but as a man of faith, I don't question God and why he does what he does, but I definitely just see him as someone that's definitely going to be missed, but his spirit will live on, and definitely glad I got the opportunity to meet him a couple of times that I did, and definitely wish that every fan had his passion and commitment to the team, unconditionally like him. So he will be missed.
Larry, did you ever have an opportunity to meet CatMan, and what was your take on this gentleman?
What was crazy is I never actually got to meet him and hang out with him at an actual Panther game, but I have met the man. A lot of people don't know, but I went to college in North Carolina in Winston-Salem State University.
Rams,
So yeah, I'm a Ram. So if you're familiar with Martin Luther King Drive right there, there's a Citgo gas station right by the entrance to the highway. I believe that's 40 that you get on.
Business
40.
But
I met him at a Citgo. I was 20 years old, going in the store to get a beer. It was right after a game that we had lost. It was during the year that we lost 14 games. So I guess we had made it back up to Winston around the same time. So I was walking in the store to get a beer, and he happened to be there. And I got to shake his hand and say hello to him. I was drenched in Panther gear. He was drenched in Panther gear, but he showed nothing but love. Also, I know that there were some people out there that didn't have the best thoughts about him. And, everybody's individual, but I did realize that he was having some health problems, within the last couple of years. But I think, just like Monty said earlier, I'm just proud of the way Panther Nation has come together. We haven't really seen that kind of unity, since the great Sam Mills, to be honest with you. And that speaks volumes to the kind of person that he was. Like you said, like I said, I never met him at a game, but I saw him at every game. I knew where to look at in the stands to see him. He was there and he was present, and he, basically set the foundation on what a Panther fan is supposed to be, what kind of energy we're supposed to bring. So I have nothing but respect for the man. And just like Kevin, he's God-fearing. I'm a faithful brother as well. I believe that, he's probably in the best place because he was a great person and he showed what dedication was and what passion was. So those are things that I'm always going to remember about him.
In my personal story, now I didn't get the chance to meet him, in Winston-Salem, but, I met him at the game, in passing, CatMan, man, you can't miss the guy, give him a pound, saying, yeah, keep pounding, man, keep pounding, yeah, but just give you guys a little extra history on this man. So before I got into the entrepreneur stage, I worked as a teaching assistant for a special needs school, Carter High School. Used to be called Main Street, off of Main Street, South Main. Pretty sure Larry, you know where South Main is. Yeah, heading in that direction.
I do.
Yeah, so that's where the special needs school was, right? And CatMan used to work there, right? So he was working with special needs kids for years before he went to another direction. And so the folks I work with also work with him, right? And I knew of him on a personal level before I even put two and two together, because I didn't know that was the man they were talking about. He was a hell of a guy, man, for real. I mean, he loved those kids and they loved him, man, and it showed his passion for life, his passion for the Panthers. It correlated with with that as well, man. He was a hell of a guy, y'all. He sure was.
Yeah, but we gonna keep. I know he can hear us, man. We gonna keep pounding for you, bro.
It's gonna be a special season. Believe that. So let's talk about an individual who's going to be a part of this special season, Mr. Shaq Thompson. Apparently, he wants to play his entire career as a Carolina Panther, just like, well, almost like TD. Damn it. I was going to say just like no. So Monty, Shaq Thompson wants to play here, man. Rest of his career. Can it be done? Can it be done?
It is the question. You know, I think that's the question we all been asking and wanting to get the answer for the last 3 or 4 years. I go on record as saying I haven't been the biggest Shaq fan since drafting him, but I do believe that he has the skill set to be a valuable replacement for TD, and it is great to know, and I guess it's heartwarming to know that he wants to be a Panther his entire career. Just the question I have is, you know, can we get that same type of, you know, commitment and heart on the field, and will it lead to not only being productive, but will it lead to ascending this defense from just being a okay defense from 2018 to being back to a top 10 to elite defense in 2019. So, you know, I love to hear that news that he wants to be here in Carolina. I'm 100% on the notion that I have to see it to believe it. And what I mean by that is I have to just see that transition from being TD's backup to being a full-time star at linebacker in this defense, and with our scheme, with the defense transitioning the way it has been, and with adding the pieces to that defense, I believe it is possible. But I'm reserving all my opinions on Shaq until I see it on the field, man.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. Proof's in the pudding, dadgummit. Let's see you ride, Shaq. Let's see you ride.
Absolutely, you know, and we. Again, this time last year, the reason for me saying that I bought into the hype of it being the year of 54, and I admit I was a little disappointed last year. I believe he flashed in a lot of ways, but I also feel, you know, that we missed TD in a lot of ways as well. And until I can see it, man, I'm just gonna reserve my opinion on Shaq.
I feel you, man. Kevin, what you think, man?
Well, me being the opposite of Monty, you know, I've been a big fan of Shaq Thompson. Actually noticed him before he was on our draft radar, playing at the University of Washington, where he, you know, played safety, linebacker, and even some running back. And, you know, just up late one night, you know, catching college football highlights, you know, I'm seeing a stat line like, wow, who rushes for 50 yards with a touchdown and also 10 tackles. I'm like, what kind of guy is this? You know, Transformer or something? You know, I was just like, who's this guy? You know, so, you know, once he started getting on our radar a little bit and we drafted the guy, I was like, oh, that's that dude. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go. You know, let's go to work. But, yeah, I'm a big fan of Shaq Thompson. I'm a little bit more lenient as far as, I guess, his lack of standout production. He's had several flashes, several moments to flash his ability. I mean, let's give props where credit's due. He been playing behind two Pro Bowlers and all-pro caliber linebackers with Luke Kuechly and Shaq Thompson. And as we discussed previously with the Foreman Rush podcast episodes, you know, we've been using a lot of nickel packages, you know, primarily since the time that he's been here, you know, the league average. You know, if I'm not mistaken, you know, we were about 65-70% of our defensive snaps is in nickel. So with our nickel only being 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, you know, of course, Kuechly's in and Thomas Davis in. So where does that leave Shaq? And also look at the fact that from 2016 to 2018, you know, also 3 different defensive coordinators, you know, Sean McDermott, then also Steve Wilkes, and then technically you kind of can say 4, you know, also, God, what's his name? Yeah, golly, yeah, Eric Washington. And heck, Rivera took over the last 6 games, if I'm not recalling. So you can technically say, you know, 4 defensive coordinators, you know, that Shaq Thompson has gotten play calling from, and he's played, 3 different positions. I just think that in his 5th year, lead that man at linebacker. I understand that he's versatile. If the matchup allows for him to do something different, so be it. But primarily let that man, be Luke's sidekick and let him run loose, because I've seen this man have games where he had 9, 10 tackles, a couple of tackles for losses. I've seen the stats showing that for outside linebackers, he had one of the higher blitz success ratios. So, we're talking about putting pressure, on the quarterback. I mean, he had 3.5 sacks by himself last year, along with 6 quarterback hits. So, getting to the quarterback is something that's part of his arsenal. So I definitely look forward for the opportunity for him to be used to where he can consistently make plays. And I just think that with Rivera's play calling, and with us going to this hybrid look back and forth between the 4-3 philosophy and the 3-4 philosophy, I'm looking forward to Shaq Thompson having that big breakout season, not only just plays, but stats-wise, that will show the reason why he was drafted our first-round pick back in 2015. So definitely looking forward to it, and I think he's gonna make me look like a smart man 6 months from now.
Larry, what you think, bro?
Yeah, and Kev, if I can just kind of piggyback off that, I agree with you with a lot that we have seen Shaq shown huge flashes from year 1 to year 3, and I don't want to come off as the guy bashing Shaq, because I do believe Shaq has the potential to be a star in this league, and especially in this new system. It's just, and I think that's just the word or the term for the Carolina Panthers in general is just consistency. I have to consistently see you produce at a high level. And that's just what we haven't seen from Shaq. And now you proved a great point as well. Having 4 different coordinators in 3 seasons doesn't really help that. That continuity isn't there when when every year you have to look at a new defense or play in a different scheme. Yeah. So that's a great point. And I do hope the best for Shaq. I say I hope he goes on to have a Pro Bowl, All-Pro year for us, because I feel if we can get that type of production out of Shaq, that just makes our defense that much more elite. And I feel like with this new defensive scheme, we can very well see an elite type defense that we've seen like from previous years, from 2015 or 2013. I think we can get back to that type of defense. So I agree with you. Those are very great points.
Well, yeah, of course, one of the biggest words in our franchise is consistency.
Amen.
I do agree with you guys with that. But to get consistency, you need stability.
True.
And like you've mentioned, 4 different coordinators, 3 different positions, inconsistent number of snaps from year to year, because you don't know when TD is going to retire, you don't know when he's going to play, et cetera, et cetera. I think the most important word is stability. So it's his position to lose at this point. That's the stability right there. You know the scheme that you're going to be playing in this year. That's some more stability for you. And on top of that, we're paying this man $9 million. We picked up his option last year. I'm not going to change now. I've been a believer in this system that Ron Rivera has been pushing for 9 years now, or 8 years. I'm not going to change. Somebody in that front office believes he can go to the next level, so I'm going to believe it too. But I'm also going to do my homework. And these are the reasons why I think he will succeed in a new scheme. He'll be playing inside the box a lot more as an inside 3-4 linebacker. I automatically expect his production to go up. He's going to get more tackles. He's going to have more opportunities to blitz and show off his strengths. A lot of people don't know he's an exceptional pass rusher. He's got a go-to move. He's got power moves, and he's physical. And I think one thing that the whole Panther Nation can agree, he brings the boom. And that's what you need when you're playing in this scheme. And that's what you need when you're playing to excel at what you do. When you look at Shaq and Luke Kuechly, they're very incredible athletes. They'll be able to go sideline to sideline. I think a lot of Luke's strengths are going to complement Shaq's strengths. So to answer your question, I do expect a big year, but I won't be surprised if he has one, because it's right there on the wall. Everything that we've been doing up to this point shows that Shaq should actually have an incredible year this year, and I expect it.
No, he's learned from some great linebackers. Rivera excluded. TD and Luke alone, wow. If he doesn't shine this year, then we know something. But like you guys said, I mean, everything is pointing to him having a huge year. Now, my thing is, we're going to have to make a choice on some money. That's all I'm saying. We got to sign Cam pretty soon. That D-line situation. Are we going to be able to afford another Pro Bowl linebacker next to Luke if Shaq has that killer year? That's the thing I'm worried about.
Absolutely. And Tim, you make a great point there. And I believe that's kind of another point that goes into my reasoning with me reserving my opinion is how do we pay Shaq Thompson? And let's, and I'll even throw another monkey wrench in the system. Let's say James Bradbury goes on to have a great year as well. Even if it's not a Pro Bowl-esque type year, let's just say Bradbury goes on and produces and has a great year. Who do you choose? Who do you choose and add to pay? Because now you have James Bradbury, you'll have Shaq Thompson, Cam going into a contract year. And let's not forget, Luke Kuechly is coming up on another contract extension.
We're going to sign him soon.
Right, absolutely.
I can answer the question. I can answer that question for you, Monty. They're going to choose Shaq.
Yeah.
Not because I have anything against Bradbury, but let's look at your head coach. He's a linebacker.
Yeah.
He believes in having a good linebacker core. If he can get a Pro Bowl linebacker, you can bet your last dollar he's going to try to sign him. What you say?
No, continue. I'm sorry.
I also think that, Bradbury should also have a great year. I think, honestly, when you look at both of those two players right there, I need both of them to have the same type of year. Mm-hmm. And we can cross that bridge when we get there. But the way I'm looking at things, there's also some guys that are taking up a lot of our money that we can actually free up. I don't think Greg Olson's going to play after next year. I don't know that we're going to keep Poe after next year. So we can't even really go into it like that about where the money is going to go. I think a good GM crosses that bridge when he gets there while also preparing at the same time. If Marty Herney is going to be the same guy that he's been the last 2 years, he'll find a way to get both of them signed if they both deserve to be Carolina Panthers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now let me say this. I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, man.
I agree with you, Larry, that with Ron Rivera being a linebacker and him putting more continuity into or just more faith into that front seven than he does the back four, I totally agree that I believe Shaq probably would win that battle in a contract debate between James Bradbury and Shaq. But my question, I pose, I'm just me playing devil advocate here. We've seen what it looks like when we lose one of our better starting corners. And we've also seen that Ron Rivera really likes James Bradbury, and just like he really likes Shaq Thompson. So I don't think it would be as easy as a decision to say, well, because Ron played linebacker, he would side with Shaq more. But I do agree with you that Shaq has also, I believe that if we're going to look for a long term, Shaq actually poses the higher ceiling than James Bradbury. So, very great points. I do agree with you there, Larry.
And this is where Panther Nation can go ahead and get their tea. They get to take a little dive into our chat. So yeah, I understood all those points as well. But you gotta look at what's behind Luke and Shaq. Very promising young athletes. I like Mr. Carter. I like Smith. I like the guy that we brought in from Cal. But to be honest with you, those guys are, fourth and fifth rounders. If you lose out on James Bradbury, it'll hurt. But you got a budding star in Dante Jackson that you can build around. So I think you got to look at the strengths of your entire defense. You lose Shaq, you might not have anybody else to put next to Luke. And then Luke is getting older as well. Shaq might actually be the heir to Luke. You never know.
No, that's true.
You mess around and lose a guy like Bradbury, you do know that you have another corner that's a budding star, getting better every year, somebody that you might be able to build around as well. So I think either way you slice it, we're taking the L if you got to lose one of them. It's an L for everybody. But it's about recovering from that L. And I think we're in a better position right now to recover at corner than we would be at linebacker.
Yeah. Kevin, you have anything to say?
Yeah, while y'all was discussing, I went ahead and, got my nerd on and decided I'd look up, some numbers here for us. And this source, by the way, to clear, is coming from overthecap.com. is where I'm going to quote this information from, just to put clarity on that.
Yeah, man.
So I took a look at the upcoming 2020 salary cap situation with Carolina Panthers. And as we stand as of right now, because it's dated as of today, we're going to have about $39.5 million in salary cap space based on the contracts that expire at the end of this year. Now, we was just touching on, some guys that, who potentially we could move on from to increase to that. For example, Larry, you brought up Greg Olson. I'm looking at his cap hit here by, him, either us releasing him or him retiring. That would add $9 million to the cap right there. The biggest one, though, would be Terry Poe. Releasing him would add almost $11 million. So you're talking about between just moving on from Poe and Olson, that's another $20 million that's going to be added. So that would have us sitting right at $60 million, which is right around where we was at in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, when our former GM, David Gettleman, was able to, go out there and acquire a lot of talent. So, looking forward to it with Hurney, the way he's been the last couple of years, I think if you give Marty Hurney $60 million, I think with the way he's been negotiating restructuring deals, if both James Bradbury and Shaq Thompson perform, I think that there'll be, enough money to keep both guys. I definitely think that if a guy like Jerry McCoy, who I expect to perform as well with his one-year deal, I definitely think he could, be re-signed as well. So I think that with the right moves, next offseason, we can really have a very nice salary cap situation to maintain our core players and get them extended and still have the money to take care of Luke in 2021 and Cam in 2020. So, yeah, it's potentially there for us to maintain our core if we make the right financial decisions on players.
Well, listen, I don't have no doubts in number one. I know everybody talking about this surgery, the shoulder surgery stuff. I have no doubts. I know he's going to have an outstanding year. So as long as we're able to take care of him and take care of the guys we were just talking about, I'm cool. But like you said, with Hurney, I'm looking at what he was able to do with no money.
True.
So you give that man $60 million, I have no doubts, man. I have no concerns, to be honest with you guys.
All right, man. Well, that was an interesting discussion. I can't wait to week 1 so we can see some real stuff. But anyway, speaking of battles, camp's coming. There's going to be some camp battles. Now, we spoke about this last week, but there are several positions on this team that, if you look at it, folks, there are questions up in the air. So let's start with Larry on this one, man. Hey, is there a particular position that you're looking at, Larry, that probably gonna have a significant battle going on?
I mean, I pretty much have addressed the battles that I'm concerned, but I'm more really just excited to get to camp. We only about 12, 13 days away right there. But definitely corner is something that I'm interested in. Not so much the outside. This is the first year ever. I'm like, I'm confident with James Bradbury and Dante Jackson on the outside.
It's been a
minute.
But
I want to take advantage of Dante's versatility. I want to be able to put him at the nickel. I want him to be able to line up at safety. For you to do that, you got to have good depth behind those guys. So I'm really concerned about who's going to be that third guy, whether it's Kevon Seymour, Russ Cockrell, even my boy Corn Elder that I've been a big fan of the last few years. So corner is definitely something I'm interested in. I also want to see how the D-line is going to shape up. I know we got some big names down, like your Kawan Short, Gerald McCoy, you got your Mario Addison, you got your Bruce Irvin, but I want to know where Kyle Love is going to fit into this group as well, because he was an asset for us last year. I just want to see how that shapes up. That's not necessarily a battle, but I just want to see how that rotation unfolds. And lastly, how's the offensive line going to unfold? Mr. Van Roten said he's not giving up his spot. So if we take that as law, you got Greg Little, Darrell Williams, and Taylor Moton fighting for the 2 tackle spots. So I think me being a hog molly expert, as Kevin would say, that's probably my most intriguing position to look at. I want to see how that offensive line is going to shape up, regardless of the positions. But who's going to be the best five? That's what I'm most concerned with.
Monty?
Yeah, I think Larry hit it on the head with the nickel corner position battle. I think that's going to be very intriguing. But and it's crazy because every other year, probably the offensive line probably will be one of the things I'm least worried about. And this year, and I don't want to say, let me not say worried, but intrigued to see how it plays out in camp. The offensive line probably will be my number one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing. Like Larry said, Van Roten's not going out quietly, and I think that does nothing but breed success. The iron sharpening iron thing is very true, and I think getting guys like Van Roten to bring is going to bring the best out of guys like Greg Little, or going to bring the best out of some of our other young guys. And I want to see how the tackle position is locked down. I want to see how Darrell Williams is going to look coming off that knee injury. I want to see the progression from year 2 to 3 with Taylor Moton. I think those are going to be huge things, and very things that we have to keep our eye on come camp time. And I think as well, the backup running back position. I think for so long, so many Panther fans are wondering or are worried about how we're going to protect Christian McCaffrey and how we're going to take some of the load off of Christian McCaffrey. And I think the backup running back position is going to be a huge thing to talk about this come camp time, because just like I'm with everybody else we want to get the best out of Christian McCaffrey. And if that means adding another running back to kind of take some of that load off, I'm all for it. And if that means that he has to touch the ball 300 times this year, I'm all for it, to be honest. But I think those are probably my biggest things: just the backup running back position, our offensive line, and the nickel corner position.
Hey, Monty, I know he ran the same 40 time as you. I'm all in on Holyfield. You hear me?
Hey, man. Hey, look, brother. Us slow brothers we got to make a living somehow, dog. We got to make a living somehow, man.
Kevin, what you saying, bro?
Honestly, as far as addressing that position, man, I really am all in on Holyfield. Just because when you watch him at Georgia, his 40 time, you don't really see him on tape. He's explosive as I don't know what, man. In short spaces, through the gaps, he's physical. And he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So he brings a skill set that would be valuable, something that I necessarily haven't seen from Cameron Artis-Payne. Although Artis-Payne, honestly, is one of my favorite guys, too, just because when given opportunities, he's been productive.
Yeah. Well, Larry, that's what I was actually going to say. I'm looking forward to see what Cap brings to the, being now that he has a real opportunity of securing a backup position. Because before I really don't feel we gave him a true opportunity or a real chance of winning an opportunity at backup running back. Yeah. Now I feel like that is more presenting itself to be true. So I want to see what Cap is going to do. I feel like so often do we forget that in college, Cameron Artis-Payne led the SEC in rushing yards. I feel like it's been so long since that we forget that when Cameron Artis-Payne is healthy and when we can have a solid offensive line, he can be a very good running back or a very good addition to that running back room. So I definitely would like to see what Cap brings in. The guy from Florida, I honestly think he brings the best skill set that is compatible with Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion. From just being a hard-nosed runner to being able to catch the ball out the backfield, like you said, with Holyfield. I think those are two things that we really are looking forward to addressing when adding another running back. And I feel like he brings the best skill set for that. But I like Holyfield as well. I think Holyfield is what Steve Smith says is a bull in a china shop. And you're not come fourth quarter, you're not going to be quick to run and try to tackle Holyfield just from his bruising style of running. So I think we're in a great position this offseason to seeing a lot of young, talented guys get a shot at a backup running back position, and I'm just excited to be there for it, man. I think it's going to be a great this offseason.
Wow.
Hey, Kev, I'm going to let you go next, but just to add to Monty's point, man, this competition that we got going on right now is very, very, very similar to the 2015 year. We have so much competition at a lot of different positions. And I think we're going to end up cutting some really, really good football players. I'm hoping, Kev, you're going to tell me that, your position of concern is receiver, because that's one I didn't mention, but I'll let you cover it. But behind our big studs, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, Jerry is right. I'm going to include him as a lock. I don't care what nobody else in Panther Nation is saying. He's Mr. Third Down. He's my favorite receiver on the roster that gets overlooked. But what about those veterans? Y'all think that who you think is going to go? I don't think we can keep all of them. What you think, Kev?
Well, that wasn't my position I was going to go with, but since you attached my name to it, I'm going to go ahead and give you my thoughts. Top two positions are without doubt, DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. I mean, we're talking about the best of the Swiss Army knives that we can put at that position with their playmaking and their position flexibility to be pretty much lined up anywhere outside of offensive line or quarterback. So those go without saying. But for me, hey, I know I'm going to be the minority, but, you mentioned Mr. Third Down. I'm going to mention Mr. Long Down, Torrey Smith. I know that he has been the vial of many Panther fans for this contract and this, that, and the third. I mean, just from studying him exclusively from last year with us and seeing the missed opportunities, like, seriously, fellas, all joking aside, if you take your personal feelings about him outside and just watch on film, Torrey Smith was leaving fools wide open on several plays last year, but Cam just didn't have the arm strength to give him the ball deep. It was just one particular play against the Giants. I mean, he had dude beat by at least 4 or 5 yards, waving his hand. I mean, you couldn't get any more open, but, Cam shot a dud down and it just didn't get there. And I'm just like, wow, it's like at least 3 or 4 games I looked at that Torrey Smith played in before he got injured where, he done beat his man. So he's someone that I'm definitely looking forward to making an impact this year. And I had the big statistics to justify the belly aching of a lot of the fans that don't like him, but I can see him being that silent killer that he might not get but maybe 2 or 3 catches a game, but it's going to be big. It's going to be chain movers. It's going to be momentum shifters because with all the talk of everybody else, a guy like him left one-on-one with a healthy Cam Newton arm with a North Turner offense. Yeah, Torrey Smith is definitely my guy that I see being an impact player at the wide receiver position. Also, let's talk about Mr. Chris Hogan. He was someone that I kind of, paid attention to in New England when I found out that he was I think he was a lacrosse player, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, all right, let's see what Brady does with this. Brady is known to just take anybody and make something out of them. Because if I'm not mistaken, Amendola used to be a quarterback, So I'm like, all right, let me check out Mr. Hogan. And what I saw from him is someone that just constantly able to get open. For those that don't know, the nickname for Chris Hogan is Mr. 7-Eleven because he's always open. So he's someone that I definitely can see us keeping. Under Hurney, our final roster, we've always kept 6 wide receivers. So for me, give me Moore, give me Samuel, give me Mr. Third Down, Jerry is right, give me Torrey Smith, give me Chris Hogan. That last battle, hey, it's some guys on there that's going to have to do some special teams work to get in there. But, guys like Ross and I forgot the other guy we signed.
Aldrich Robinson.
Yeah, him. Now, I saw a little bit of film on him. He's nice as well. So that 6th spot is going to be more. It's going to be more so. Okay, what can you do outside of running routes to earn the spot? Because we got to get some special team value at the bottom of the roster. But as far as Robert,
please don't leave out my Georgia boy. Come on now. I think he got a spot too.
He made some eyes open. I tell you that, man. But they're gonna have 3 tight. We're gonna have 3 tight ends, bro. We got to.
Yeah, I definitely think we keep three tight ends. If just nothing for offensive line purposes and helping with protection. But I didn't mean to cut you off, Tim.
Oh, no, that's all I'd say.
But Kev, what you said about Torrey Smith, I think is spot on. And just to piggyback off that a little bit more, I think the problem with a lot of Panther fans is he doesn't have those huge glorifying stats or those huge glorifying catches that we all love to see. But I think Torrey Smith absolutely does a lot of the ugly things when it comes to playing receiver. right. And that may never show up on the stat sheet. That may be something that we can't. I'm sorry, I can't talk to that we don't see. That's tangible, that I guess that we could say, well, this makes him a great receiver. But I believe, again, I'm going as far as to say he had, if not one of the biggest catches for Panther Nation last year against Philadelphia.
Yeah, that Philly game. Yeah,
that fourth down catch.
Yeah, man.
With somebody all over Cam's legs, he comes down with a huge fourth down catch, and not only secures the catch, turns the field and goes for extra 10 to 12 yards.
Yeah, man.
I feel like that just embodies what Torrey Smith does for this offense. Again, he might not have the crazy numbers, but he does a lot of the ugly things right. And I think that can't go unnoticed. Now, moving forward with the roster, y'all know how I feel about DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be a stud. It's just a matter of when it happens and not if. I think it's just a matter of when are we going to see that next step from DJ Moore. Same way, and I'm kind of grown into I believe Curtis Samuel may have just as high a ceiling as DJ Moore. And y'all know I'm a bigger fan of DJ Moore than Curtis Samuel. But I think Curtis Samuel has proven that when he's healthy, and if we can get the ball in his hands, the guy is a flat out stud. Him getting to the end zone is something that he showed he can do on a regular. And then adding other offensive pieces like getting Greg Olson back and being healthy, I feel like that's going to help. That's going to do huge for what our guys are looking forward to do as production wise, or to growing to that next position. Then you got Christian McCaffrey growing growing into his own, and then Ian Thomas, I think that he's going unnoticed, in a lot of different places. And then, like what Larry said, Mr. Third Down, Jarius Wright probably is my second favorite receiver on our roster. I think he definitely goes unnoticed a lot more than what people should. I think he's a stud. I think he's the best route runner on our roster right now. And probably has the best hands on our roster as well. Well, for receivers anyway. And then Chris Hogan, we all know what Chris Hogan has done in New England, and I feel like that can't go unnoticed as well. But I definitely think that Hurney has done a great job of adding a lot of valuable pieces to the offense, to where now you can literally say, pick your poison. Torrey Smith can beat you downfield just as much as Curtis Samuel can beat you downfield. You have Jarius Wright that's amazing from the slot, just like you can line DJ Moore into the slot. And and I feel like that position fluidity and just being able to put so many different guys in so many different positions is going to be huge for us in this offense next year, man.
Monty is back.
Yeah, he's back, and I agree with all of his points. But I kind of I volunteered Kevin into that receiver position. I'm sure he might have been looking at a different battle. Did you want to cover that before we moved on, Kev?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely going to get to that. But real quickly, we was talking about, one more thing about Torrey Smith. I don't know if a lot of Panther fans probably got. Y'all remember week 2 Atlanta when Cam went to slide and that safety did dirty? Hit on Cam.
Oh, yeah.
And Torrey Smith yoked dude up.
Torrey's about to choke that dude out, bro.
Like that was like a wrestling move Torrey Smith did on old boy. He got the penalty or whatever. But that's his quarterback. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people forgot about it.
It felt like vintage Steve Smith. That's what it felt like. And again, that's you want to go to war with guys like that. It costs us a penalty. I do get it, but those are guys you want to go to war with. Guys that are going to protect their quarterback, but guys that's going to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what we're going to accept. This is what we're not going to accept. And if it caused me losing 15 yards to protect my quarterback, so be it. And I love that. And again, he might not have the crazy 1,000-yard season that so many fans are hanging their hat on, but the guy does a lot of the ugly things when we're playing receiver right. And that's one thing I love about Torrey Smith.
Yeah, and the guy from Atlanta, his name I just looked up was Kazee. Kazee. He was the guy that took the cheap shot as Cam and sliding on a 4th down conversion, and that's who Torrey Smith yoked up. So from that, Torrey Smith won me over even more with that. As far as my position goes, I pretty much touched on the ones that I typically like. So I just want to throw a little curve at it. I'm looking at what I call blue collar players that's battling not only for a spot on the team, but for getting reps in the game. And if y'all know me, y'all probably know where I'm going with this. my man Alex Armour. A lot of people, I ain't gonna say a lot, but I've read some articles suggesting that he might get cut because, based on a number of reps, and he's not really doing anything different than the third tight end Manhurst, and nobody uses a fullback anymore, blah blah blah. I'm looking forward to Armageddon to show why that the fullback position under a North Turner offense is still something to be accountable for in today's NFL. So I'm looking for Alex Armour to get his, because Tim, last week when it was just me and you and ran that cover one, by ourselves, we was talking about how in the practices and OTA so far how Armour was getting open downfield, and I mean they talking about catching passes 20, 30 yards downfield. So I definitely like to see him get us a couple of shots a game to make an impact with the ball in that aspect. Another blue collar guy that I think is going to have to be in a battle is probably the number one villain of a lot of Panther fans, Vernon Butler Jr. I can understand why the frustration. It's not his fault he was drafted that high by Gettleman, but at the end of the day, he still is labeled a bust because he was drafted in the first round. The fact that he came in 20 pounds lighter showed me that on his own, he realized that, it's time to put up or shut up. And, everybody's pretty much hyped about who the starting defense lineman is in our 30 front. I was looking at focusing on who are the defensive linemen that's going to rotate in to keep everybody fresh. Larry was hitting on it earlier about, how Kyle Love fit in. Does he play the nose behind Poe? Does he go out to the, defensive end where he can play either the 3, 4, or 5 technique? I think, with a guy like Butler, you can line him up in any one of the 3 defensive line positions in our 30 front sets. That's something looking at, and something that a lot of us ain't talked about behind the scenes as much, the depth at safety. Everybody's so worried about what Gauldin's going to do, which I think he's going to secure the position at safety, but we'll see. He's got to earn it. Don't want nothing to give it to him. But I'm looking at a lot of these young guys on our roster that's going to have a chance to get the other 2, possibly 3 spots. So I think that safety is going to be a spot. There's a backup safety role is going to be a battle. I definitely think the defensive line rotation is going to be a battle. And, guys like, as I mentioned, Armour, Manhurst, I know they're not going to get huge reps when the game comes, but I want them to get enough reps to where they're allowed to make an impact, because when given opportunities, these guys have definitely shown that they can, be the solid killers in a game where they don't blow up the stat sheet, which I think fantasy football has ruined a lot of football fans' perspective of how a game is impacted. But I think that these guys had opportunity to make impact plays when they are in the game. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing when coming to camp, how those players at those positions work out.
Hey, Kev, save your emotions about Armour, man. He ain't going nowhere. I don't care whoever you're listening to, whatever articles being put out there, we don't use the fullback. Those people don't study film and they don't study the system.
Yeah,
Norm Turner uses the fullback.
Norm uses the fullback.
Really good one.
Heck
so
yeah, man.
He ain't going nowhere. Don't even let nobody get into your head about that. I love Armour just like you do. And he's actually a big key to what we do on offense. So I expect to see him there for many, many years.
Yeah, I think he's going to act a fool next year, man. Well, this upcoming season, I think he's going to act a fool, bro.
Looking, and he's ready to put somebody in the arm bar if you don't like it. So I'm all for that as well.
He will choke you out. He will choke
exactly,
you out.
Monty. You said about that with Smith. We got to have guys we can go to war with. That's the last thing I'm ever worried about in our locker room. You see what Gerald McCoy did.
Man.
You see how much money he turned down. You know what the coach is like in our locker room. Man. We ain't even worried about going to war with nobody. I don't think nobody want no smoke with us. No. Especially in the NFC South. When it comes to fighting, playing, whatever. I just want to win games at this point.
We're going to run the South.
I just want to have about 3 or 4 guys that got the spirit of swole bones when it comes to protecting Cam. You know what I'm saying? That 2014 Rumble, boy, he knocking dudes out with their helmets on. That's what I'm talking about.
The Saints game. You talking about the Saints game, huh?
Yeah, the Saints game where when we went on that run to making it to the playoffs. Yeah, that fight that after Cam scored, and I think it was Vilma, somebody tried to didn't like Cam, and
it was your very own. It was your very own Roman Harper came through with that smoking Steve had to choke him up, right? That's the same game.
No. You're talking about that was 2012. I'm talking about.
So you basically saying we've been beating up Saints, basically.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
When the Saints.
So I know what you're talking about. You're talking about when Swole Bones was looking somebody.
He was throwing bolos, bro. He was throwing bolos.
Right.
Yes.
Bro, Swole Bones almost broke somebody in two, dog. That was the craziest part too, bro.
And with nobody trying to grab him, neither. Nobody.
So here's the thing. Even though the Saints have won 5 of the last 6 against us, we still lead the all-time series. So let's let you know how long we was beating up on Saints, until our last few years. So we're going to get things back right. We bringing the broom this year. Yeah. 6-0 in the division. I'm going to say it first.
Facts.
Ooh, 6-0. Oof. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. We'll see if you're right about that, man. I hope you are. I can't stand Saints fans. If you're a Saints fan, my apologies. I'm just keeping it 100. Some of your cohorts, it might have been you. Some of your cohorts are just not very friendly. So I'm just gonna just say that and be done with it. All right now.
Hey, I live in Atlanta, so I feel the same way about Falcons fans as we all do Saints fans. Actually, I hate all of them, to be honest with you.
Larry, I was going to say that. I used to live in Atlanta, too. I probably hate Falcon fans more than I do Saints fans, man. Those probably are the most annoying and ignorant fans I've ever encountered.
I have to say, I haven't ran into any Falcons fans that really annoyed me that much. Saints and Bucks,
Hey Tim, they all the same color to me, man. Any of them want to smoke? Falcons, Saints, Bucks, whoever want it, they can bring it. I don't care about none of them.
Black and blue, baby, black and blue. If it ain't that, you know what you can do.
In the word of Snoop Dogg, we don't love them hoes.
Exactly.
Shoot, we can end it on that right there. Shoot.
Yeah, we can wrap it up now.
Oh man. All right, folks. This has been another outstanding podcast episode on the 4-Man Rush. We want to thank you guys for dropping by and checking us out once again. Please tune in next Thursday for another jaw-dropping podcast from the 4-Man Rush. Oh, we'll see if Monty drops back in or not. We don't know. Hopefully, Will be here. But tune in and you'll find out.
Hey, I'll be here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here.
That's what's up. That's what I'm talking about.
We can rush 5, man. We rush 5. We unstoppable.
Woo! Yeah, they don't want that. They don't want that, man. They don't want that. But you might get it anyway. All right. So, hey, you guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast and enjoying it. This is your host, Timmy V.O., along with Monty, Larry, and Kevin. Big shout out to Norris and Canardo. Big shout out to Will. Get your job done, man. It's always about the grind. And, folks, as always, keep pounding. Take it time to really let it breathe. So baby, just chill. She love it. We out in public and we can just chill with my partners, and we can go back to my crib and just chill under covers and do we call me and you lovers. The 4-Man Rush is brought to you by the love and respect of and for the Carolina Panthers and Carolina Panther fans everywhere. Keep pounding. The 4-Man Rush is a non-affiliate of the Carolina Panther organization. All thoughts, assessments, and content of this podcast is directly related to the 4-Man Rush exclusively. Thank you.